I think it's fun for me as a CEO to make some people in the company uncomfortable every once in a while, which
I always pride myself as being the first acquisition of Stimulus.
So coming here, I was like, oh, I work for a small IT company now, and now I wouldn't describe it that way.
There isn't any training for these highs and lows that this company has experienced.
I've been here for 16 years, right? So it's been an honor, seeing where we started from, and seeing the incredible journey that we've gone through.
You're listening to Stimulus Tech Talk, a conversation-based podcast created by Stimulus Technologies that covers a range of topics related to business and technology.
Welcome to Stimulus Tech Talk. I am Sherry Lipp, the marketing manager here at Stimulus Technologies, and we have a lot of people today. We're doing a special episode to continue to mark our 30 years of Stimulus Technologies. So today we have from the company, I have Nathan as usual. We have Brian, Cade, and Taryn. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Nathan.
Well, thank you, Sherry, and thanks for setting this up. This is certainly fun, and I think it's fun for me as a CEO to make some people in the company uncomfortable every once in a while, which I'm definitely doing. But I thought it would be a really good idea to talk to a few of our team members that have been with us for a long time and just talk about what stimulus means to them and kind of get a perspective on where we've been, where we're going, and what's fun and exciting at stimulus. So I'll actually we'll just kind of go around here for a second. Everybody on the podcast knows me as the CEO, but we'll give everybody a chance to introduce themselves briefly. So we'll start with Brian. Tell us who you are and maybe how long you've been with the company and what do you do?
Okay. Yeah, I'm Brian, of course. I'm the MSP manager here at Stimulus Technologies. I've been with the company for 16 years, so kind of been an old timer now. So
Yeah, you used to have colored hair, Brian.
thanks.
Cade Whipple, I'm a professional services manager. I've been with Stimulus Technologies. February will be 10 years, so 9.5.
And then Taryn?
I've been with the company going on 11 and a half years. I am the process development manager, and that's changed over time, but that's what I am currently.
And then Sherry, I know this is last minute. I'm going to throw you in this too because you've been with the company for quite a few years too.
Yeah, I've been with the company for a little over 7 years.
So companies changed quite a bit over the 15, 16 years that, since Brian, you started in 2009 with the company. How do you feel that it's changed over time and like specifically surrounding your role and what you do inside the company? How have things changed and how are things the same, I guess, too?
Well, how they've changed. Back when I started, we were definitely much smaller. There's no question about that. I mean, it seems like forever ago, honestly. So, but we had a lot less structure, few processors. I used to call it organized chaos. It was thing, but we got things done. It was a very different environment from today's kind of refined approach. That's how things have changed quite dramatically since I started. Now how they're the same, I think we still have the same same core values that we've had all the time. We've always wanted to do the right thing, take ownership of the problems. I think that's from like I said, from day one, it's always been about doing the right thing and being accountable, and that mindset is still core to who we are. So
thanks for that. It's definitely interesting, thinking back, the growth that we've had over, especially the last 15 years and the change of the industry too. When we started, like you said, it was break fix. A lot of it, you and I have spent a lot of time on implementing, MSP processes to go from a reactive business to a proactive business. What has that meant, do you think, for the customers and how we deliver service to be more proactive versus reactive?
Well, I think at the time when we started, really, MSP was a term that was just starting to take hold. It wasn't really a thing. It was, no one knew what. When I would go and tell people that we're MSP or a managed service provider, they would be like, "What's that?" Well, we do IT services on a contract basis, but we manage your network and try and be proactive instead of reactive. And so that's kind of the direction we headed, and it's been great for the company, I think.
I think one of the things that's been consistent inside the company and inside technology in general is change. And it's not just the technology side of things, it's, what people come in for in the company and, the growth that they see over time. So Taryn, you mentioned it in your intro. We hired you to do something different than what you do today. So talk to us about, how that change has happened and, maybe even discuss like how we do that inside the company. How does Stimulus, try to steer a person that comes in to, to a different career side or, maybe just talk about you. How's that affected you in your life?
For change, something that stands out for me is a big challenge or change that we went through was during, the COVID lockdown period. And when most were having major challenges and not surviving through that, I was very proud to be part of an industry and a company that with our solutions that we had implemented and working with all of the world changes that was going on, we were able to assist other businesses and help them, survive through it and keep them operational. We didn't know that was going to happen, but we were able to take the reins and work with the changes and also develop new things to keep everybody working, and like I said, surviving through it. So, and personally, my changes, I've gone through professional changes through this company of doing a whole entire list of different tasks that I never really thought I'd be a part of. But personally, my whole life changed. You guys have seen me through, growing my family through, a divorce, through a death of a parent, and simultaneously my professional changes have worked in sync with my personal changes, so we just have the ability to adapt here and to dive in and go with the change, no matter what it is, if it's professional changes or personal changes. And that's something I've been very proud of to be here, to be able to go through that, of all of those, adapting changes.
So what Taryn didn't mention is when we hired her, we created a position of everything that everybody else did not want to do. So Brian and myself and a few other team members are like, okay, what do we not like doing? Let's create a position to do that. And then Taryn came into that.
And I changed the name of the position within the first week, I think. It was really supposed to be for projects. And I was like, no, this encompasses way more things. It was more operationally than it was just project related. So yes, it's always been a joke. I don't know how funny it is anymore that, Taryn does what everybody doesn't want to do, but I'm glad to be there for everybody of what everybody needs.
Hey, Taryn, after this meeting, I have something for you to do.
Yeah.
So do I. I got that plan approved to be created. That's the way it goes, though. And I appreciate that, Taryn, because, one of our core values in the company is elevate others. And, it's a family business that we started 30 years ago. And I still consider, the team as a family, and it's important for us to elevate each other when we're going through personal challenges or professional challenges. That's one of our core values as a company, is to ensure that we are all succeeding, not just at work, but in life in general. So thanks for sharing a little bit about your story. So Cade, you came in a little bit different way. How did you first learn about Stimulus, and why did you decide to join the company in a different route?
Yeah. So Stimulus was not a direct competitor, but certainly in the same space. A friend of mine and I started our own break fix business back in 2000, and I found, we weathered a couple of hard spots there, early 2000s, mid 2000s, some downturns in the economy. But Nathan and I knew each other outside of work, and I knew that he had another managed service company that had more, I guess, labor than I had. And so as we in our company became busier or were out of town, because there were only like 3 of us, then I would kind of outsource to Stimulus for some of that assistance. And so I came to know Brian really well. I actually would hire Stimulus and Brian specifically to come and install servers for us and our customers. Brian and I spent many hours on site at customer locations doing those server upgrades and server swaps and that kind of stuff. So, and then Nathan and I sat down and worked out a solution where, my calls would roll over for support to Stimulus. And they would assist my customers, and I could then have some vacation time to go out of town and get away. And Nathan always made it apparent that he wanted that relationship to be more than just rollover calls and billing of labor, but that he thought that we could make something more of our companies together. So in 2016, Nathan and I, well, I guess it would have been 2015, but the acquisition occurred in 2016. And I came on full time at Stimulus, and Stimulus acquired Saber's client list, and we transitioned them from break fix to managed service contracts. A lot more than I thought actually transitioned. The attrition was actually fairly low. I was thinking that they would be afraid of doing that, but a lot of them are still clients today. But yeah, my transition was different. I always pride myself as being the first acquisition of Stimulus, so I love the fact that I can wear that badge proudly. Yeah, became part of the team. I was hired initially kind of to be kind of a solution provider. There really wasn't an account management solution in place at Stimulus, so once customers came on board, and that was pretty much the end of it. Their interaction with us was solely just when they had problems, and that's never a really good relationship to foster. So we tried to develop something where our customers had more interaction with us than just when they have a problem. So
I think things change over time, and I'll ask this to Sherry now. What is something that you never expected to be part of your job as a initially marketing coordinator and now a marketing manager? What's something exciting or something that you just never expected to be part of the marketing program?
Probably this podcast.
That was my answer.
Well, because we conceived of it, and there was somebody else that was going to manage that, and they ended up leaving. So, like the day before we recorded the first one, it was like, it's gonna be me. And I think there's just a lot more things we've done. We've traveled and we've gone to a lot of marketing conferences, and everything we do is we've expanded. But and then I couldn't foresee the AI component when I first started.
So we're telling funny stories here. So Sherry was hired, or we hired Sherry on as a marketing manager, and I think you're like the third day I went on vacation for like a week. So I met you briefly for on your first day, said, "Hey Sherry, welcome to the team. We got this stuff going on." Then I took off on vacation, and then the next time I see you, we're at the airport going to a marketing conference, and then we had this incident that they messed up our hotel rooms, and you thought that I only got one hotel room, and because I didn't know who you were going to be, and I registered for this conference, so I put it under marketing manager as the person registered for the hotel room. Luckily figured that out very quickly. But yeah, we've learned a lot over the 7 years you've been with about marketing and technology. It's been fun.
Yeah, I will say there's a lot of growth, because when I started, I didn't have a desk because you were reorganizing the office. And Cade I didn't have a computer. Cade was trying to get the computer. Brian was asking me what I do here, and Taryn was trying to keep me occupied. So that was my first day was rotating desks, and Taryn was like, "Well, you can look at this," and nobody quite knew exactly how to transition me in there.
Why are you talking about things that haven't changed at the company? I'm not sure if we figured out how to onboard employees, because it's changed so much over the years. Now it's we're as with a lot of companies, onboarding remotely has been interesting. We deal with that. Taryn, you mentioned COVID, but Brian, your team is almost 100% remote. As new team members come on, how's that experience changed over time since 15 years ago since you started?
Yeah, we actually have an onboarding project template that we use. I mean, we have so many different employees in so many different departments now that each one needs different access to different things. So we have to build out a process for that. And then we actually use the same process when employees are leaving. We have to deactivate their access. We just do it in reverse. So it works well. So it's gone surprisingly well lately since we've implemented a lot of these new processes. So
I think that's, something that you've spent a lot of time with, Taryn, is, thinking about how do we replicate the company as we grow, and maybe talk a little bit about that. What is it when a team expands beyond a few people in a room, what do we do as a company to ensure that everybody's working in the same process, and how has that changed over time?
It's been completely different, and it actually is quite a challenge, working with people that are not only just not in the same office as you, but they're in an entirely different state. You can't physically just go to them in person and show them something hands-on. So the, SOPs that I write, I try to be extremely detailed, screenshots. I want somebody to be able to read a document and be able to, when they have questions or they come to a click that they need to click on or something, that it's there, and just be very, very specific. So a lot of it has been writing those, getting together and doing live trainings, on camera, sharing screens, so that you can see the different things that people will go through, or how their mindset works of, something they're going to be challenged with, or they're going to notice and point out of, how they're thinking of something that they may need to do in their daily jobs. But it's even changed more dramatically because, it used to be a physical book that, like when Sherry was saying, Taryn handed me this, here, read through this. It was literally a book that I printed out and had to take the time, and I would make 5 at one time. So if there was a new employee, I'd be able to already have it ready to go for them, give that to them, and then there would be in-person trainings. You would sit down with somebody and, teach them the system, but there is no physical book anymore to hand somebody. And thank goodness for that, to be honest, because it was not fun to print out a whole binder this big full of everything, and a person coming in didn't also enjoy receiving that and I got to read through this thing. So we have things placed in different areas online now, that is very easy accessible. Somebody can click right onto a document that is more of an operations manual. That was the intention back in those days, that it was a manual, a physical book, and now things are just easier accessible. And if somebody needs something, it's very quick to just quickly send them a document. Here, oh, this pertains to this issue, here's this one. Also, I try to be there for anything and everything that anybody would ever have a question on. They don't have to schedule a meeting with me, send me a chat, message, and, I'll help them out right away. I do remember something from back in the day as well. Early on when I came in, I had recommended, I think we called it IMing back then, instant messaging. I wanted a little chat box for us to communicate throughout the office. None of the technicians back then wanted that because they didn't want to be bothered when they're working on something, and they didn't want a message box to pop up. Brian did not want that for his technicians to be bothered. And so it's comical to me that the way that the world is now, we live by, our team's messaging chat, and we have people all over the country practically. You need to be able to message people that isn't sending an email, and somebody may not be in their emails all day long, and you need to be able to walk next door to the office and stand in someone's doorway and ask them something quickly so you can move on with whatever it is. You need to be able to quickly send them, a quick chat and ask them something. So I find it funny, though, that I originally was told, no, we will never have that. We don't have a lot of people.
Taryn, the
Never
early
say never.
adopter.
What?
Taryn, the early adopter.
Yes.
So
I wanted things that Brian didn't want, or vice versa.
So there is a funny story about the name of that book that you didn't share. So we used to in the company we used to say, well, we train our employees by singing a song, the technician song when they came on board. It's like, we used to hand down, thousands of years ago, information by song or by story, and so we named the book the Tribal Song Book. And now there had to be a story of why it's named the Tribal Song Book. But
I thought it was the weirdest thing. Brian also would say, he constantly would say, tribal knowledge, tribal knowledge. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it's a thing that it's just, you can't teach that. It's just, it comes from experience. You've worked on maybe this issue once in the past, maybe once, and you just know that background information about the issue or maybe the customer that nobody else knows. And Brian probably has the most tribal knowledge of this company out of anybody, maybe probably more than Nathan. I don't know, you guys might be neck and neck. There's certain customers Brian might know more about than Nathan, but yes, I thought it was, I used to say things, like nerdy. That's a nerd term. What are you talking about? Because I never knew anything technical. I had to be taught a lot of that stuff. And so the Tribal Songbook was very funny to me. I did not name it. Nathan did.
As with everything, it was probably a quick pop into my office and said, what do we name this? What do we call it? I'm like, Tribal Songbook, because that's what it is. As we kind of wrap up, let's just kind of go around. There's certainly a lot of opportunities for employment, and I like to think about, being part of Stimulus is more than just being an employee. It's being part of a team. And I know a lot of companies say that, and I hope that one of the things that we do is exemplify that as a company. But you guys have all been here, 5, 10, 15 years. So we'll start with you, Brian. What does it mean to you to be part of Stimulus? And especially thinking about now that we're celebrating 30 years, what does it mean to be part of a company that's approaching 30 years or now exceeded 30 years?
Yeah, you know what? I've been here for 16 years, right? So it's been an honor, seeing where we started from, and seeing the incredible journey that we've gone through. I'm definitely proud of what we've accomplished and what we've accomplished as a team. And I hope that that our legacy of developing talent and customer relationships, that continues on. So
great. Taryn, what about you?
I may have mentioned this a little bit before, but there really isn't any training for these highs and lows that this company has experienced. And one thing I've learned the most about our culture, or I should say your mindset maybe as our leader, it appears that no challenge is ever too big for us not to try. And most would think that something is, that's a little, outrageous. I think you attempt, and that has attributed to a lot of the reason why we have grown big and as rapidly as we have, even with the hardships that come with it. But I think you can apply that into all areas, that even when it seems too hard, it's not. And we often just dive in and figure it out, kind of like jumping into a pool and not knowing how to swim maybe, and you have to survive. But we always end up, being able to come up for air. And even though I think we hold our breath a lot before we get to breathe again, but it's just no challenge is too big. That's what I would say. So as much as I digress sometimes and maybe don't see the end vision and think that's crazy, I'm happy to always be a part of it and go through it and come out on the other. Your push to us does that. So thank you.
Well, we're glad you didn't jump ship when we went corporate, quote unquote, using Taryn's term.
I still would be the same thing I felt back then, but I told you a long time ago I had to either jump on the train or get off. But no, it's hard, and it changed. As small as we were, that's what I was worried about. I was worried about that we would lose this, camaraderie, these relationships. So it's hard. It's hard to go corporate and have all the things that come along. Yes, I'm happy I did not get off the train.
Cade, what about you?
I know your previous question, you asked me, kind of why did I make the decision to sell my business and come on with Stimulus? I didn't actually answer that question. So I think that will answer this question too. I saw an opportunity first of a company that actually stood behind what they said. And at least, nobody can do anything perfectly, but all of the employees that I was engaged with at Stimulus, yourself included, there was a trustworthiness there. So when you gave your word, you did everything in your power to, fulfill that. And so there was this trust and trustworthiness. And I ran my business very conservatively. I'm a very conservative person in all my kind of financial dealings. And I saw an opportunity in addition to that, not trusting my clients, people who I'd built personal relationships with, trusting that they were going to get the service that they needed, that it wasn't just solely a very selfish reason for me selling my business and coming on to Stimulus, but to come on here and give them a solution and solutions that I believed in. It also gave me an opportunity to grow personally. To Taryn's point, right? Like our management team, when I came on, you had a goal to 10x the company, right? And it took us probably about 8 years to 10x. And now we have a goal to 10x in 5 or less years again. And so I don't know that I would have ever had the courage to do that by myself or to build that by myself. But I love being part of a team that will build that. So I think what you've done is you've built a team. Certainly this team here was kind of the originals, but you've expanded that now into kind of what we need for the moment. None of us have been to the next level. I mean, none of us have been here technically, but to have learned what we've learned, again, right or wrong, like Taryn said, learning that the dog paddle isn't a very, good way to tread water and it's not very effective. Learning how to swim and how to swim appropriately, using that analogy, I think it's been a wonderful journey for me educationally and personally, but also I believed and still believe that the solution that we've been building has been the best solution for these friends and colleagues and associates that we've brought along the way and continue to bring into the Stimulus solution. So I love having this opportunity to build something at your expense. Sorry. So.
or Brian's gray hair and my receding hairline, one of the two.
But it's been a wonderful journey. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Sherry, last but not least, what about for you?
I think for me, it's been just really exciting to see the growth because I did come from corporate before. So coming here, I was like, oh, I work for a small IT company now. And now I wouldn't describe it that way. It's been a lot of opportunity for learning and expanding. And like you said, what did I not expect to do before? It'd be, marketing in a completely other part of the country that I haven't been to, Missouri. And just, trying to learn how to connect with people, pretty exciting. And pretty exciting to just see how things will change as we keep going.
And we're certainly excited for the next, we're celebrating 30 years. What does the next 30 years mean to us? It might be some different people on this screen celebrating the next 30 years. I certainly hope so for all of us. But the company culture that we've developed over the 30 years, it still reminds me back in my brother's garage from 30 years ago. Doing the right things for people, producing technology that really impacts people's lives, and that's what we set out to do 30 years ago. And it takes a lot more than just two brothers to do that. It takes a large team, and I appreciate you guys joining us today, as uncomfortable as it was to be on a podcast. Hopefully this was more like just one of our management or operations meetings and less like a podcast. So thank you for joining, and those that have joined the podcast, thank you for joining us today and listening to us reminisce a little bit about the company, and hopefully gives you a little bit more insight on what makes Stimulus Technologies different and where we are going. So thank you for joining us.